You've made this breakfast more times than you can count. A slice of toast, golden and warm. A banana, perfectly ripe, soft at the edges, sweet in the center. It feels like comfort, like simplicity, like something that can't possibly be wrong. You've heard it praised 100 times. Whole grains, fruit, no sugar added, and for years it worked, or at least it seemed to. You felt full enough. You made it to lunch. You believed it was doing good things for you. Maybe the numbers were decent. Maybe your doctor said keep it up. So you did. But lately, something's off. You wake up hungry. You eat the same way. And yet, your energy dips before the coffee cools. You get shaky. You need a snack. You lose focus. There's a fog behind your eyes before noon, and no one's quite explained why. It doesn't feel like a crisis, not at first. It's just a little fatigue, a little forgetfulness. Maybe the scale's gone up a few pounds, but who's counting? You've earned your softness. You've earned a quiet morning routine. Still, something in your body feels different, and not in the way they warned you about. Not disease, not disaster, just a shift, subtle but growing. You sense it before you understand it, a slow unraveling of balance. And somewhere deep down, a question takes shape. Is something so small really causing this much trouble? The banana, the toast, the quiet choices made every morning. It's not that they're bad, it's that your body no longer handles them the way it used to. And once you see it, once you feel it, it's hard to unsee. The question isn't whether breakfast has changed. The question is whether you have. And the truth is, you have. Not overnight, not all at once. But slowly, silently, your body has been changing in ways you didn't expect, especially not from a breakfast so familiar it feels like second nature. What once gave you energy now seems to steal it. The climb up after eating is too fast, the fall too sharp. And it isn't just breakfast, it's everything that happens after. You find yourself chasing the next lift, another bite, another cup of coffee, before the last one even settles. And you wonder why nothing feels steady anymore. But this isn't failure. It's not a sign of weakness or poor choices. It's the body adapting to time. Muscles don't process sugar like they did at 40. Cells don't pull in glucose as quickly or as easily. Your insulin, the hormone that helps sugar enter your cells, starts whispering instead of shouting. It still works, just not quite the way it used to. And in that subtle shift, everything begins to tilt. The foods you trusted start sending your blood sugar higher, faster, and leave you crashing harder than before. You haven't done anything wrong. You've simply stepped into a new season and no one bothered to tell you the rules have changed. What used to fuel you now overwhelms you. What used to stabilize now destabilizes. But the signs are there if you know where to look. The mid-morning fog, the swollen ankles, the way your energy thins out too early in the day. You start to realize it's not just getting older, it's your metabolism adjusting to age, quietly asking you to notice. And once you do, the next truth emerges, just as quietly. You don't need to stop eating what you love. You just need to meet your body where it is now, not where it used to be. Because that's the part no one says out loud. You're not failing, you're not broken, you're not lazy or careless or weak. You're simply living in a body that's doing what bodies do when they've carried you for 6, 7, even 8 decades. It adapts, it preserves, it adjusts its pace. But in a world that still speaks the language of youth, fast fixes, fast carbs, fast mornings, it's easy to feel like you're falling behind, like your body is betraying you for no reason. But it isn't betrayal, it's wisdom. It's conservation. It's the gentle slowing of a system that's been working for you every single day of your life. You don't lose value when your body changes. You gain perspective. And the fog, the fatigue, the strange blood sugar swings, they're not signs of disaster. They're signs of transition, of a body asking you to partner with it instead of pushing through. So when your banana and toast no longer carry you past 10 a.m., it's not a failure, it's feedback. When your afternoon feels heavier than it used to, it's not a punishment, it's a pause. Your body is still speaking to you, just in a new voice. Softer, slower, but still clear if you know how to listen. And this is where the shift begins, not just in food, but in thinking. You don't need a stricter diet. You don't need to cut everything you enjoy. You just need to stop expecting your body to act like it's 35. And the moment you do, something softens. The blame, the guilt, the frustration, it lifts. Because now finally it makes sense. Your body isn't giving up on you. It's inviting you into a different kind of rhythm, one that still works, just not the way it did before. That rhythm begins with how your body handles sugar now, not just the sweet stuff, but anything that turns into sugar once it's inside you. And it's here, quietly, that the real trap forms. Not in the candy or dessert you rarely eat, but in the everyday foods wrapped in the word healthy. A piece of toast, a banana, even oatmeal. These foods rush into your bloodstream like a flood, fast, overwhelming, and unbuffered. You don't feel the spike right away, but your body does. It scrambles to catch up. Your blood sugar shoots up, higher than it used to, and insulin tries to bring it down. But that drop is no gentle glide. It's a crash, and the crash leaves you empty again, even hungrier than before. Maybe you reach for another slice. Maybe it's a glass of juice, a quick snack. The pattern repeats, up, down, up again, and without realizing it, you've spent your day inside a storm your breakfast started. This isn't about willpower, it's about biology. A younger body could buffer those spikes. Muscles pulled sugar in fast, energy burned cleanly. But now, sugar lingers longer. It sits in your blood, waiting for the right doors to open. And when those doors creak instead of swing wide, the sugar builds and your energy breaks. This is what they don't tell you. It's not just what you eat, but how quickly your body absorbs it. Two foods with the same calories can affect you completely differently. The healthy choice can sometimes cause the harshest crash, not because it's wrong, but because it's too fast, too unanchored, too alone. And that's the trap. Doing everything right and still feeling worse. But once you see it, once you name it, you can step around it, carefully, wisely, without fear. Because the hardest part isn't cutting back on sweets or skipping dessert. It's realizing that the foods you believed were helping might be working against you now. Not because they're bad, not because you made a mistake, but because your body, the one you've trusted for so long, has simply become more sensitive to the speed of sugar. That slice of toast, once a harmless morning staple, now moves through your system like dry kindling, fast to burn, quick to disappear, and the banana, soft and ripe, adds fuel to that same fire. You've spent years avoiding processed junk, steering clear of sodas and pastries, doing what every headline and pamphlet recommended. Whole wheat, fruit, simple breakfasts. So why, after doing everything right, do you feel like things are slipping? Why does your energy feel borrowed instead of earned? The answer lies not in abandoning those foods, but in understanding how they behave now inside this body at this age. What looks clean on a plate can still spike your blood sugar if it comes in fast and unbalanced. The banana and toast by themselves don't carry enough staying power. No protein to slow digestion, no fat to anchor the rise, no fiber dense enough to tame the wave. They race ahead, leaving your insulin to chase behind. Too late, too little, too overwhelmed. And so you feel the echo of that spike in your mood, your joints, your clarity. You might even feel it in your blood work, numbers that nudge upward despite your effort. That disconnect is where doubt creeps in, but here's what matters. You haven't been doing it wrong. You've been eating for the body you used to have. Now it's time to eat for the one you're living in today. With care, with knowledge, and with the kindness to adjust what healthy really means for you now. And once you know what to look for, you begin to see the pattern everywhere, not just in numbers or food labels, but in the way your day unfolds. You wake up with good intentions. You reach for something light, something familiar. Maybe it's the toast again, maybe a bowl of cereal, maybe a bit of fruit. It feels like a good start. But within an hour, something changes. Your thoughts drift. You start to feel shaky, maybe just a little. You drink water, you keep going, but your fuse is shorter, your focus slips. By late morning, you're reaching for a snack, anything to steady the sinking. A granola bar, a handful of crackers, maybe even another banana. It helps for a moment. Then the wave comes again. You find yourself floating between hunger and fullness, alert and foggy, too tired to think, but too wired to rest. You try to push through, telling yourself it's just aging or stress or maybe not enough sleep. But your body is quietly telling the truth. It's on a roller coaster it can't get off. And the cruel thing is, the roller coaster is invisible. No alarms, no obvious signs, just a steady hum of not quite right, a slight swelling in your fingers, a headache that lingers, a nap that doesn't fix anything, a feeling like gravity is just a little heavier than it used to be. You may not have the language for it, but your body does. It speaks through sensation, through patterns, through the quiet weariness that builds even on your easiest days. This isn't about overeating, it's about under-supporting. Foods that come in fast leave you crashing hard, and when the cycle repeats itself day after day, the invisible becomes real. But here's the good news. You don't have to ride that roller coaster anymore. And still, even as you start to notice the patterns, how food changes your energy, how some mornings feel heavier than others, there's a quiet voice in the back of your mind that says, "But my doctor said everything looks fine. Maybe your numbers are still within range. Maybe the labs didn't raise any alarms. Maybe your provider smiled and said, 'Keep doing what you're doing.' So you did. And yet, your body keeps whispering, something's not right." It's a strange place to be, in between normal test results and a life that doesn't feel as normal anymore. You start to question yourself. Maybe it's just stress. Maybe you're imagining it. Maybe you're just getting older. But somewhere inside you know the truth. You don't feel like yourself, not in the way you used to. And it's not all in your head. Medical charts measure numbers, but they don't always measure how fast your energy dips after breakfast. They don't track how many naps you need or how long it takes you to feel alert again after eating. They don't see the slow rise in cravings, the swelling in your hands, the mood changes that come out of nowhere, but you do. And the most powerful thing you can do right now is believe that what you feel is real. You're not overreacting. You're not being dramatic. You're noticing more than any lab ever could, because your body lives with you, not in a chart. And when it asks for something different, it's not undermining your doctor's advice. It's adding a layer, a nuance, a call to adjust. The tools you were given were never wrong, they were just incomplete. And now you have the chance to add what's been missing, not by starting over, but by starting with yourself. And it always seems to start with breakfast, not the big indulgences, not the rare treats, but the routine, what you reach for before the day fully begins. You're not eating too much. In fact, most mornings, you're probably eating too little. A slice of toast, a banana, maybe a small glass of juice or tea. It looks light, it feels easy, but that's the mistake. Not because these foods are wrong, but because they're alone, unaccompanied, unanchored, and too quick to enter your bloodstream. Your body wakes up in a fasted state, already slightly insulin resistant from the night's repair cycle. So when your first meal is fast digesting and low in fat or protein, it floods your system without resistance. Blood sugar rises like a tide without a dock. And even though it might feel good at first, a little energy, a sense of having eaten something clean, it sets a tone you can't undo. You've stepped onto the same roller coaster you've been trying to avoid. The irony is, the lighter the meal, the harder your body works to recover from it. Toast without an anchor burns out quickly. A ripe banana on an empty stomach becomes a surge instead of a lift. Juice, though fruit-based, acts almost like soda at this stage of life. It's not indulgence that's throwing you off balance, it's absence. Absence of stability, absence of the nutrients that help slow things down. And no one told you this because for years, light meant healthy. But now your body is asking for something else, more grounding, more layered, more enduring. Not heavier, but steadier. Something to match the slower rhythm of a body that still works, just not on speed. And once you start seeing breakfast not as a restart button, but as the first step in a chain of steadiness, everything begins to shift. Because what your body wants now isn't less food, it's better firewood. Not twigs that flare up and vanish, but logs that smolder gently, giving off heat without burning you out. This is the difference between a breakfast that lifts you and one that steadies you. Between a quick fix and a slow burn. When you add a little protein, a boiled egg, a spoonful of Greek yogurt, a sprinkle of seeds, you're not just filling your stomach. You're giving your body time. Time to absorb, time to balance. When you spread almond butter on that toast or layer your banana slices with walnuts and cinnamon, you're not being indulgent, you're being strategic. You're building a meal that lasts longer than its first bite. And the change isn't just on the plate, it's in how you feel an hour later. There's no crash, no scramble for a snack. You move through the morning like a river instead of a wave, calm, unhurried, supported. Your thoughts come clearer, your energy stretches farther. You're not chasing relief anymore, you're living in rhythm. This is the power of slowing down digestion, not with pills, not with rigid plans, but with pairings that respect how your body functions now. A fat here, a fiber there, a protein alongside the fruit instead of after. You don't need to stop eating what you love, you just need to escort it into your bloodstream with a little more care. Because the goal isn't perfection, it's steadiness. It's moving through the day without spikes and drops. It's rediscovering what it feels like to have energy that shows up and stays. Not from restriction, not from fear, but from listening, from responding, from learning how to burn slowly and well. And it turns out, the toast doesn't need to disappear. It just needs to grow up with you. That slice you've trusted for years can still be part of your morning, just not in its bare, fast-burning form. Swap the white or soft wheat for something with substance, dense, seeded, rich in fiber. Bread that resists a little when you tear it. Bread that takes its time inside you. The difference isn't dramatic on the plate, but your body feels it like a wave settling before it crests. You spread something richer this time, not jelly, not margarine, something with weight. Almond butter, mashed avocado, full-fat ricotta with a dash of sea salt. Maybe you add a fried egg or a sprinkle of chia or a smear of hummus for a savory turn. These aren't gourmet touches, they're anchors, tiny shifts that signal to your digestion. Slow down, stay steady, we've got what we need. This kind of toast doesn't vanish from your system. It lingers, nourishes, unfolds its energy slowly. And suddenly, you're not looking for something else an hour later. Your coffee lasts longer. Your mind stays clearer. You feel held, not by a new routine, but by the way you've begun honoring your needs where they actually begin. Because that's what this is really about, recognizing that your body, right now, is still capable of balance. It just needs different ingredients to get there. Not expensive, not strange, just different enough to match your metabolism's pace. So your toast remains, but now it supports you instead of rushing ahead and leaving you behind. And in that single simple shift, a new kind of strength takes root. Quiet, steady, and yours. And the banana, it doesn't have to go either. It simply needs a new role, less of a solo act, more of a partner in a fuller picture. Because alone, it rushes in too fast, especially when it's extra ripe. But paired wisely, the banana becomes something entirely different. A slow companion, a quiet supporter, not a sugar surge, but part of something steadier. You slice it thinner now, half a banana instead of the whole. You place the slices atop a smear of almond butter or a layer of cottage cheese. Maybe you fold them into a bowl of Greek yogurt, adding cinnamon and chopped walnuts for grounding. You use it in smaller ways, intentional ways. The sweetness is still there, but it's no longer unanchored. It's been given breaks. And suddenly, what once felt like a guilty pleasure feels nourishing again. You don't feel the spike, the flush of warmth, the jittery dip. Instead, you feel settled, federal. You walk into your morning with more ease, not less. Your steps are firmer. Your mood doesn't swing with your blood sugar. You're still eating what you enjoy, but on your terms now, with a wisdom your younger self didn't need. This isn't about sacrifice, it's about stewardship. About learning the new language your body speaks and answering it with care. A banana in a protein smoothie becomes fuel, not fallout. A banana with eggs or nut butter becomes a team, not a trigger. It's not that bananas are bad, it's that context matters now more than ever. And when you give your food the right company, fat, fiber, protein, it becomes not just nourishment, but alignment. A way of saying I see you to a body that's been trying to speak all along. And you start to realize it doesn't take an overhaul to change everything. Just one breakfast, one moment of listening instead of rushing, one choice that turns a spike into stability. Because when your morning begins in balance, the rest of your day doesn't have to be spent chasing it. You're steadier by mid-morning so the snacks stay on the shelf. You're more alert after lunch so you don't need that extra nap. Your cravings fade, not because you're resisting them, but because your body no longer feels like something's missing. You're not running on fumes, you're running on rhythm. And rhythm makes space for joy. When your blood sugar stops swinging like a pendulum, your emotions soften too. You don't snap as quickly. You don't forget your keys. You don't sink into that 2 p.m. fog that used to feel like gravity pulling you down. Instead, you feel present, connected, capable. All of it because of what happened before 9 a.m. That's the quiet power of a stable breakfast. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It simply lays a foundation. And from there, the rest of the day builds upward instead of unraveling. This isn't a diet. It's not a rigid rule or a trendy challenge. It's a gentle shift that honors where you are right now, and it starts with something as small and as sacred as your first meal. Because when you change how your day begins, you change how it moves, how it feels, how you carry yourself through it. And the beauty of it all, you don't have to wait weeks to feel the difference. You'll notice it within days, sometimes within hours. Not because you did everything, but because you did enough. And enough at this stage is more than powerful. It's transformational. And that one shift doesn't just change your morning. It ripples outward, touching parts of your life you hadn't connected before. When your blood sugar finds stability, so does your heart. Those quiet spikes and crashes you barely noticed. They've been tugging at your blood vessels for years, wearing down the edges like water over stone. But with steadiness, the wear slows. The strain softens. Your vision sharpens, not overnight, but subtly, as inflammation eases and circulation improves. Your feet feel lighter, your joints less stiff. The scale might even nudge, not from restriction, but because your body no longer hoards what it's unsure it will get again. When sugar stays balanced, cravings fade. When cravings fade, portions shrink naturally, not by force, by rhythm. And then there's your mind. Clearer thoughts, less fog, more recall when you're reaching for names, lists, directions. Blood sugar isn't just a physical game, it's a mental one too. And when your levels smooth out, your mood follows. Fewer swings, less anxiety, more calm, more presence. You don't feel like you're always catching up with yourself. This is what the long game looks like. Not a sprint toward perfection, but a steady walk toward ease. You don't have to overhaul your life. You just have to stop ignoring the signs your body gives you. You've made it this far with strength and wisdom. Now it's time to live the next chapter not in survival, but in support. And it all begins with the smallest changes, the ones that seem too simple to matter until they do. Until you wake up one day and realize you feel better, you're moving easier, you're thinking clearer, you're living not in reaction but in rhythm. This is the path forward, not a fix but a foundation, not discipline but grace. And maybe the most surprising truth is this: you're not far off, you're not starting from scratch, you're not lost, you're already close, closer than you think, because you've been paying attention. You've noticed the fog, the dips, the shifts that didn't have names yet. You've sensed that something was off, even when the advice didn't quite fit. That awareness, that instinct, it's everything. It means you're already listening. And that's the hardest part. You don't need a new identity. You don't need to throw out your pantry or ban the foods you love. What you need is to lean into what's already working and adjust gently. Add instead of subtract. Support instead of restrict. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about returning to yourself, but with a little more knowledge, a little more care. You're already eating bananas because you believe in real food. You're already choosing toast because it feels familiar, simple, satisfying. You're already waking up trying to make a good choice. So now it's just about adding what holds those choices steady. A little protein, a little fat, a little fiber. These aren't drastic moves. They're small hinges that swing open big doors. And when the winds come, and they will, they'll come quietly. You'll notice your mornings feel lighter. You'll realize you've made it to lunch without grazing. You'll stand up and feel just a little steadier on your feet. It won't feel like a revolution. It'll feel like a homecoming, like you finally found a way to eat, to move, to live. That makes sense for you. So if you're wondering if it's too late, if the changes are too small, if you've missed your moment, The answer is no. You're already doing the hard part. You're showing up, you're noticing, you're ready. It didn't look different at first. The kitchen was still quiet. The sunlight still broke gently across the counter. The same toast waited beside the same banana, and your hands moved almost without thinking. But this time, something was different. Not everything, just enough. You reached for the almond butter instead of the jam. You sliced half the banana, not the whole, and laid it on the bread like something sacred. A few crushed walnuts in your palm, a shake of cinnamon. It wasn't a diet, it wasn't even a plan. It was just a choice, a new one, a kind one. You ate slower that morning, not because you were trying to, but because the meal asked you to. It tasted richer, more satisfying. You didn't finish and immediately think about what came next. There was a calm, a stillness, something inside you softened. You weren't waiting for the crash, you weren't preparing for the dip, you just felt fed. Mid-morning came and your body didn't call for a snack, your mind stayed clearer. You didn't snap at small things. You remembered where you put your keys. You walked a little farther. You laughed a little easier. And as the day unfolded, you began to understand. It was never about being perfect. It was about being in tune. That one breakfast, the one that looked so much like the old one, marked the beginning of something quiet but lasting. You started to feel like your energy belonged to you again. You didn't dread the afternoons. You didn't spiral when the scale crept. You didn't feel betrayed by your own hunger. You had, without realizing it, stepped out of the loop. And the beauty of it is this: you didn't have to become someone else. You just had to trust that your body was still worth listening to, that it wasn't too late, that feeling better wasn't reserved for younger versions of you. The next morning, you made the same choice again. Not out of fear, not out of guilt, but because for the first time in a long time, you felt what it was like to begin a day already steady, already strong. And from that moment forward, everything else began to change.